Okay, welcome back to the Yamhill Advocate. This is our video recap. Yes, there's been quite a lot of stories that have not been in this recap. Sorry to tell you, I'm really just going to focus on the two brand new stories I'm publishing today, Monday. If you hear a little bit of rain, by the way, sorry, it just started raining. I am in my Airstream trailer. It's a very nice trailer, but you know, the roof is right there. Rain. It is what it is. More importantly, I have an update for you about the resignation of Dan Weinheimer. I've got some stuff to share about that, okay? But I'm going to put it as the second story, not the first story that I'm going to talk about. There's a reason for that, okay? Now, in my articles, I have accused this group of people who deem themselves social activists as being a cult and a mafia. And people are like, that just sounds too crazy, Carrie. There's no way. I won't read the rest of what you said because that sounds too tinfoil hatty, okay? Well, here's the thing. There's crazy things going on in Newberg. And if you think about it, a cult being in town is probably the most rational explanation for why all the crazy things are happening. What type of crazy thing am I talking about? How about a high school student performing in a drag show in Kristen Stoller's gymnasium? Okay, Dance Academy, whatever you want to call it, it's a gym. People go there to work out. It's a gym. Okay? Yes, high school student performing in a drag striptease show, and it gets weirder, okay? For the stated purpose of collecting signatures for the Rekyle Brian Shannon PAC, Political Action Committee, and raising money for it. So, if crazy things like this can happen in Newberg, is it really so out of the elements for there to be a cult in Newberg? And by the way, Kristen Stoller, same Kristen Stoller, who, as I reported in my previous video, is the same one that said that she wants to destroy Dave Brown. Not recall him, by the way. Oh, no. Personally destroy him, according to how she phrased it. She also said that she wanted to change the voting culture in Newberg using the high school students, the recently graduated high school students, such as the recently turned 18, but still a high school student who performed in the drag show. So, I'm going to let you see this clip here.
And looking at changing the culture of what voting looks like in Newberg, especially graduated students from the high school that are abroad or at other schools, empowering parents and staff as they go through their process and their special event that will happen before Thanksgiving, and that will be really great to watch them do. Yeah, so just to answer that question, our strategy in regards to our collaboration with the teachers unions at a county Newberg level as well as state level was mapped out in a way that would remain on our initial timing. So while we've had wild success and the combination of the two have been really mutually beneficial, we are going to keep our timeline to be separate when it comes to the election for a number of reasons. But right now it just means that we're also entertaining the idea of how we can completely destroy Dave Brown and maybe, a couple other things. Doesn't mean we're going to recall him, but so we're...
And here is a clip that shows you that there actually was a high school student who performed in drag as people threw dollars at him.
know that this is Newberg. This is the type of events that we want to have to celebrate every single person that lives in this town. And there are some people. Boo. If I say their name, they're going to quote me on Facebook like 20 different ways. So you know who I'm talking about. There's probably a couple. Anyway, what we're going to focus on is celebration, coming together, lifting each other up, flying the flags, being strong, visible, loud allies, and saying, not in Newberg, you got to go. I know you're watching, and I know your friends are watching, and I know they're telling me about this. So, if you would like to support, Reed said it. If you would like to support our recall, which is one of many steps to ensure that Newberg stays as incredible as you all are tonight, then we have our recall. You can sign. You can tell your parents to sign, your friends, your neighbors, everyone who is able to sign the recall that is eligible to vote in Newberg Dundee School District. You can also volunteer. You can give your money. You've been amazing with tipping the queens, can I just say?
And, they did a striptease show in lingerie. In downtown Newberg, no less, this took place, Chehalem Valley Dance Academy. That is, Chehalem Valley Dance Academy, which apparently, it's no longer just a place for kids to go to learn, gymnastics and dance and things like that, nor is it solely a location for students to get the distance learning. What's it called even? I can't remember what it's called. I'm going to put it here because I can't remember what the darn thing's called, okay? But it's the stay-at-home sort of program, and they can, with your tax money, by the way, they go to Kristen Stoller's gymnasium, and basically she gets paid money for that. It's not just that anymore, though. No, now it's also a strip club. So, welcome to Newberg 2020, guys. Or, excuse me, 2021. 2021 Newberg. This is what's happened within, 15 years of adding bars to town. Now we've got children, and still child, in my opinion, okay? They're still in freaking high school. Performing in drag for other adults to throw dollars at them to serve the political agenda of a bunch of tools. So, wellness center, which I've mentioned in my articles. There's a wellness center, which is basically a private healthcare clinic, is what it's advertised as. But as I've shown in part 1 of my article, an actual section devoted to Kristen Stoller and her nonsense and her madness, okay? They're actually using the wellness center to teach these gender identity fringe nonsense things. And it is nonsense, okay? The theory was created by a guy named John Money in the 1960s and 70s. He lied about all of his research. This is a factual statement. You can Google it. It's called the John Joanne case, as I recall, involving a pair of twin brothers, one of which was David. I can't remember his last name. I think it might have been Reimer. I'll put it up here on the screen. They both killed themselves, by the way, and part of the reason why they killed themselves is not only did John Money lie about his research, but he had them take photographs in the nude, masturbating each other, and posing in missionary positions and all kinds of other crap. This all came out, in the early 2000s, but John Money died, the brothers committed suicide, it kind of got covered up a little bit in the media. But it's the truth, okay? The BBC did a whole documentary on the subject. I'm not telling you some crazy thing. This is the truth of what gender identity came from. Came from someone who's basically a pedophile, lied about his research, got away with it for about 30 years. And by the time that the truth came out, there's already this worldwide movement, the American, Psychologist Association, whatever, Oregon Board of Education. It's all there now. But it was all a lie. And that's what's being taught in the Wellness Center by Stoller and always their knuckleheads, okay? So, welcome welcome to 2021. Residents of Newberg, it's time to wake up. It's time to start paying attention to what's going on because it's here now. Downtown Newberg has a strip club. Yes. Which also doubles as a children's gymnasium. Lovely, isn't it? So, second story. Oh, by the way, there's a much more detailed article about this whole thing. Okay? That's on the Yamhill Advocate website, yamhilladvocate.com. We're going to go into our second story now. Before I do that, I just want to mention something, okay? These stories don't write themselves. They don't investigate themselves, okay? I've basically spent the past month, of my existence, okay, waking up in the morning, researching, investigating, responding to emails, responding to Facebook comments, okay? And I eat and I sleep, and that's basically what I do. I repeat the process. My full-time position is writing these articles now, researching this stuff for the Yamhill Advocate. I'm a one-man band. I've written over, I think, about 36, 37 articles, and I've got like 5 more that are like in various states of draft to be published. They're also kind of long, so it's a lot, okay? The reason I'm saying this, okay? You're not getting this stuff from the Newberg Graphic. They're not going to report this stuff. News Register, they're not going to report this stuff. The Oregonian, nobody else is going to report this stuff, okay? And it's not because they couldn't. It's because they've decided not to. Because it doesn't serve the agenda and the purpose of what they're doing. I've emailed them all this evidence, all this information. They know. I've talked to the newsrooms, okay? I've talked to them. They're not doing it. They're either scared of the Democratic Party in this state, or they agree with what they're doing. And they're assisting them by only publishing their press releases and nobody else's. You think that they're publishing the press releases of the conservative majority of the Newberg School Board directors? They're not doing that, are they? No, they're not. You know why they're not? Because they don't want you to hear their voice. I'm the only person who's bringing you the other side. I'm the only person that's doing that, okay? So there's not balanced coverage unless publications like mine get support, get assistance. So what you got to do, if you want there to be balanced coverage, if you want to know the truth of what's going on in this city and the whole county, by the way, go to my Subscribe Star. I don't have a Patreon because Patreon deplatforms people, just like GoFundMe deplatformed me. Okay, go over to the Subscribe Star account. There's a link in this video. It's also all over the Yamhill Advocate. It's the one that says like for $1 a month you can support it. Okay, you can spend whatever money you want. All right, but just know this: the quicker that I get to about $1,600 a month, the quicker I can hire additional writers to produce additional stories, so that we can have a lot more coverage coming out regularly. I want to try to get 12 stories a week at least, at a bare minimum, regularly coming out. Not in good stories, not just like regurgitations of press releases, okay? Like I want real stories coming out, 12 articles a week for you to read. At some point, there'll be a print version, okay? But in the meantime, there's a Subscribe Star account. If you donate to it, the more money we get, the more reporters you're going to have to be writing stories about this stuff, okay? So now, second story. It's going to be about City of Newberg, Dan Weinheimer. So, as many people know, he's resigned. Suddenly, in fact, it's a mystery. Why did he resign? Well, I sent an inquiry, which hasn't really gotten a lot of quickness on getting a prompt reply, but I did get a reply from the current acting city manager, Will Worthy. I wrote it down here so I wouldn't forget. Will Worthy, who is also the person in charge of the Newberg Public Library. He's now getting the salary for the city manager. And oh, by the way, they also want to give $60,000 to Dan Weinheimer to reward him for resigning suddenly on early notice. Isn't that kind of fishy? Isn't that weird? Now, I've heard some rumors about what's actually happened. I can't report it yet. Sorry to say. It's one of those iffy areas where like I really need some hard evidence. And the thing of it is, I sent a request to City of Newberg, and you know what their response was? Sorry, Carrie, we can't provide you the official reason or even tell you if he was going to get severance. We won't say it because it's private information, guys. Ooh, private information. What's happening with your money is private information. Well, it's not private information because it's your tax money, and Oregon law, public records law, says they have to disclose if he was asked to resign. They have to disclose if he had any complaints filed against him. They have to disclose these things, and they're trying to not provide them. Kind of strange, huh? They don't want to provide it. I mean, you basically said, we can't tell you, which basically to me, my interpretation is if you can't say no to something, then the answer is probably yes. Okay? So here's what I suggest. I suggest that you give some public comments about how, maybe just express how you feel about the subject of somebody that suddenly resigned, getting paid $60,000 of your money so they can go off to wherever and do whatever, and also not be held liable for anything that they might have done that was unethical and led to the resignation in the first place. Just an idea. That's probably not the best way to manage the city of Newberg, is it? Lastly, I want to leave you guys with something, okay? I'm one dude with a newspaper that I've created. Like, I've single-handedly created a newspaper, okay? And I have exposed what I think is the criminal activities of like 2,000 people. And I do think they are organized like a mafia, okay? I'm not saying that they're literally the Italian mob. What I'm talking about is a violation of the RICO Act, the Racketeering Act, okay, which was specifically created for organized crime. I think that they're organized criminals. I mean, obviously they're organized, right? They got 2 different Facebook groups. I've showed all their communications. I think that there's some other things going on, and I'm still investigating that, okay? But I think they're of a financial nature, and I definitely think them getting school board directors harassing their employers and business partners, I think that is legitimate interference in commerce, and therefore, as part of the coercion, that's a RICO offense. It's just what it is, okay? So, mafia. Maybe it sounds too inflammatory to you, but what else do you call an organized group of people who are breaking laws and interfering in commerce? Mafia. Why is it a cult? Cult's a very important term, okay? A lot of people think of Jonestown, and actually, that's not a bad analogy. If you really understand this group and what they're doing, it's actually not a bad analogy. Now, some people said, well, Kerry, it has nothing to do with Jonestown. It's not a cult. No, it actually has a lot to do, because Jonestown was not the name of the cult, okay? The name of the cult was the People's Temple, and it started out as a Christian church, which absorbed this sort of the 1960s social rights movement into itself. It had a very large population of people from different ethnic groups there in San Francisco. It wasn't over in, I actually can't remember the name. I think it was like Danya or something like that. I'll put it here somewhere. But the most important thing is like the village in the jungle didn't just like emerge out of nowhere, okay? It happened over several decades. For several decades, they were operating in the city of San Francisco. And the leader of it, Jim Jones, he ingrained himself deeply into San Francisco politics. He was best buds with all the politicians in town, which is why he got away with a lot of shady nonsense for a very long time. And as I recall, it's not until the feds started investigating things that he wanted to go create his own, jungle paradise, his utopia, okay? That's how that happened. But first, they were pretending to be a church, like a regular Christian church. It was actually a cult. And it was specifically about social rights, ending racism, all that stuff. Very similar sounding language, actually, if you think about it, to what the people in town here in Newberg are doing. Now, it's not a related movement. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm simply showing parallels, okay? There's parallels. These people are talking about creating a black utopia. I can't even make that up. Ty Hardin Moore literally created a document, okay, with her other group that she's involved with in Portland. It's on for download on the City of Portland website that their goal was to make black utopia. I can't even make this crap up, okay? Subverting language, talking about people being racist and people have blood debts. If you're born white, you owe a blood debt to black and brown people and all this other crap. Okay, these are spiritual beliefs. A blood debt, a blood debts. You know, you owe something to somebody else because of some crap your ancestors did. That's a blood debt. Okay, it's a spiritual idea. Also, I have it on good authority that they actually do have a real church here in town. They have an actual church which is masquerading as a Christian-oriented denominational church. And originally they tried to take over somebody else's church. And it didn't go over so well, so the congregation kind of split, and they created a second church. I'm going to talk more about that in another video. And if anybody has any more evidence of that event, because there's a lot of you out there that know what I'm talking about, please provide that to me so I can publish it, so we can get people to understand this really is a cult. They have quasi-religious ideas. They're making it seem like they're political activists. They're really not. They're a criminal group. They're a cult. They have weird beliefs. They self-declare themselves to be racist to motivate people into thinking that they owe blood deaths to the leader. Blood debts, not deaths. Blood debts to the leaders, okay? And they have to basically become their slaves, essentially. Okay, they're just doing their bidding. They're doing what they want them to do. They say, go do this. They run and go do it. Gladly. Donate this money for this. They donate money for it. Let's have the high schoolers come in and do a drag show in town. And they do it. They do all this crazy nonsense, okay? Because it's a cult. It's a cult. And I'm the only journalist around who's willing to just call it out like it is. Because I'm not scared of them. They threatened me. They've done whatever, you know? Whatever. I'm not scared of you guys. Come on. I was infantry. I'm not going to be intimidated by a bunch of powder puffs who have to hide in the shadows of all the crap that they do. You've gotten away with it for a long time, which is why you think this is no big deal. We can just keep everything. You're not going to keep it going, okay? It's all exposed. And what I love about the recent video with the drag show is I think it's Kristen Stoller out there saying, there's somebody out there watching, tagging me and stuff, and we're not afraid of you, blah, blah. You're absolutely afraid of it, okay? Because if you weren't, you wouldn't even mention me at all. Now, but here's the thing, like, you shouldn't be afraid of me. You should be afraid for yourselves because of what's going to happen inevitably. You're going to be held accountable for the crimes. You're going to lose whatever reputation that you carefully crafted to deceive the public as you're exposed for being who you really are, okay? And who you people really are is a bunch of terrible, nasty people who are racist as all hell, are indoctrinating children into your madness, teaching them to be racist, teaching them to self-segregate for your financial benefits. And it's going to stop. And I'm going to keep reporting. And you can't stop me because I'm not scared of you, first of all. And secondly, in your 2,000 plus group, there's not a single person who actually has the ability to stop me. Because you're a bunch of powder puffs. Every single one of you. Even the one of you that think that you're real tough, you're not tough. That's why you organize this crap in the shadows in the first place, okay? If you were really strong, if you were really brave, you wouldn't have had to create secret Facebook mafia club to do all your nonsense in, okay? So, you're not going to stop me. And this will continue. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. And I'll see you in the next video update. Laters.